What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pete Perspective. My name is Pete, and if you're new to the channel, I want to say thank you for being here. Hey, look, today we want to talk about a particular chip company. Now, you might ask, man, aren't all chip companies made the same? The answer is
nope.
Absolutely to the heck no, all right? Look, check it. There's two types of chip companies. There's the type of chip company that just, makes chips and they throw in a bag. It's a lot like when you're done with your laundry and you just kind of throw it in your dresser. You don't really care, right? But there's another more sophisticated type of chip company. And this chip company, man, they take pride in their chips, right? They're fluffy, they're airy. They stack them in a nice, perfect little tube. And they go straight up Marie Kondo on their chips, like in the presentation.
Hello, I'm Maria Kondo. 私のミッションは片付け.
And that chip company today, we're gonna be talking about them. Their name is Pringles, okay?
Seems the Friday Night Poker Club has never seen anything like Pringles' newfangled potato chips.
Get a load of this. Potato chips? In that thing? Airtight lid. Wow, they're made a new way. Man, that's a lot of chips. Yeah, and look, they're not broken. Come on, taste them. Great. Fresh, crunchy. All those chips inside.
After 20 years, JKR, which stands for Jones, Knowles, and Ritchie, which is a agency that was responsible for the Burger King rebrand, which was a huge hit earlier this year. They're back at it again, stirring the pot, shaking the boat, and I absolutely am here for all of it. Now, they decided to go ahead after 20 years, like I said, to rebrand Pringles. And a lot of us know the little guy who's on the Pringles tubes, and you may not know his name, but you might recognize him. His name is actually Mr. P. Now, do with that as you will. No judgments here. But like I was saying, after 20 years, JKR has decided to go ahead and take their shot at rebranding Pringles. And man, this is massive, right? Like, a lot of brands have gone from the really dynamic sort of three-dimensional gradient style brands. And they've moved from that to a very flat design overall. And so a lot of people either love that or hate that. I think for most designers, we can get on the minimal, simplified, really clean aesthetic train. But I think a lot of everyday people just kind of feel like drawn and like some sort of nostalgic tie to the original brand. And a lot of people make the point like, hey, just because, it is that way doesn't necessarily mean it needs fixed, right? Like, if other brands are moving towards minimal and that sort of style and clean and just thinking about a really delicate approach to design, why do you have to also move in that direction? Can't you be a maverick? Can't you change the game? And the answer is, man, they are changing the game, and there's something to say about going left when everybody's going right. But when it comes to design and branding, you really want to make sure that your product is jumping off the shelf, right? Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what's making these people money, is how many times they're grabbing your attention as you're walking down that aisle. And so with these new looks, man, I love it, to be honest with you. I know I come on here and say a bunch of different stuff about brands, and a lot of the times I love it. It's just because I'm a sucker for good design. And Jones, Knowles, and Ritchie, they do good design. Their quality content and the stuff that they're putting out is really second to none. And they're up there with the big heavy hitters in some of these massive agencies like Pentagram and some of these other places. One of the first things you'll notice is, like I said, Mr. P has gone simple, okay? He is simplified. He no longer has the brown in his mustache. He no longer has, the middle part, which middle parts are coming back, y'all. I see these Gen Z kids everywhere and they're rocking the middle part, so I know that they're coming back. Pringles went ahead and decided, hey, we're not Gen Z, we're rocking out with the millennials. Let's get rid of the middle part. So they kind of changed the stash, they changed the hair, and with the new Mr. P icon, you can see that they just went with a very simple black mustache, and then they're using those eyebrows to capture a lot of that emotion and excitement, because he's kind of like, you about to eat these or no, right? So the second thing that I noticed really quickly is that the reds appear to be different. It's hard to say in the pictures and in the mock-ups. A lot of these are renderings and mock-ups anyways, but the red does look a little bit more toned back, a little more muted. Obviously, Mr. P has jumped up in size. You can see, that's about 50% larger than he was on the previous cans. He's almost wrapping around the tube. So they clearly want you to see him. They clearly want to bring Mr. P into the forefront and make him more of a player when it comes to this brand, right? So I would imagine that maybe in some of the newer commercials that are going to be coming out, Mr. P is going to be playing a role in those commercials. being that they clearly want him at the forefront.
Potato chips?
Mm-hmm. Pringles, newfangled potato chips.
Aaron, Pringles.
Uh-huh.
Oh, boy.
Once you've tried Pringles, other potato chips just don't stack up.
And the Pringles type. Let's talk about type. Okay. So the type treatment on this is really, really nice. The cool part is, and this is really, really subtle, but the previous Pringles Mr. P icon or logo had a bow tie on, okay? In this new one, they removed the bow tie, but I don't know if you notice this, but if you look closely at the word Pringles, they're shaped like a bow tie, right? So the words Pringles from the N and the G kind of work their way out as if it was a bow tie. So now the Pringles word is actually serving as that bow tie, which is really, really cool because the bow tie is like the finishing touch on a suit, right? It's like when you're putting on a tie, it's that last thing that you put on. And that's what the Pringles name is. They're clearly saying, hey, we're that last special touch, right? You could have a sandwich, you could have fruit, you could have an awesome lunch, but without Pringles, you're missing your tie, you're missing your bow tie. And I love that. I don't even know if that's what they were thinking. I hope it was, because if I just came up with that, then somebody needs to hire me. Listen, PeteDesignCompany@gmail.com, 717-389. I'm just kidding. Okay. That was my email for real, but I can give you guys my email. I'm not going to get spammed. Plus, there's like 10 people that watch these videos anyways. Like I was saying, on Twitter, they actually released a little video and an animation showing Mr. P in action. A lot of fun. They have these graphics with the chips and flying around and a bunch of other stuff. But man, Knowles and Ritchie, their case study hasn't even actually come out for this yet. I actually checked their site and there was no sign of a case study yet. But I would imagine that just like Burger King, they're probably going to unload a full case study for all of us to see. And if you're a designer, man, take note. Take note of the people that are working with the big brands. And again, it's not that we want to worship like big brands and only big rebrands and stuff, but like take note of what they're doing. Take note of how they're adjusting the brands in such a way that the impact, the spine, right, the foundation of those brands are still intact. When I pass that tube on the grocery store, I still know that those are Pringles. But it feels new, it feels fresh, and I'm telling you, that is the hardest thing to do, to have the discipline to not change, right? The temptation is to go in, we're the experts, let's go in and change things, and really, we need to diagnose the problems and really move the brand into a direction that's gonna solve some of those problems. So I love the way the brand also applies to the different flavors of chips. Obviously, for the main Pringles brand, you just have the typeface. You don't necessarily see the red bow tie. But when you move over to the salt and vinegar, the sour cream and onion, the Texas barbecue, you can quickly see how the red bow tie plays into the brand. And obviously they're bringing your attention just straight into it. There's something that's so impactful because the tube is like, the graphics on the tube are almost spilling over, right? Whereas before they were thinking, let's fit everything into this nice narrow box. Now it seems like they're willing to open up and just kind of like wrap around the tube a little bit more. And no other chip company really is putting their chips in a tube. I remember when Lay's actually started stacking their chips too. They have a particular line of their chips that are stacked. They're called stackables or something. And they were just not the first to do it. When we think of stacked chips, when we think of chips that come in a tube, we think of Pringles right away. And quotes here that I have from the creativereview.co is that at the heart of the new design is, of course, Mr. P, like I mentioned, right? He was actually originally designed by Arch Drummond in 1967. However, if you think about, for those of you who are really struggling with this idea that, why do these companies go from the 3-dimension, from having the tones and the shadows and all those things that are happening in their brand, and scale it way back to going a real, just to simplifying and really taking a minimal approach? Part of it is just the nature of design. Design is throwing all your ideas out and then taking as much away as possible while still being effective. I think the best design uses the least amount of graphic elements to communicate a story. So why does Mr. P have hair, right? Why does Mr. P have a brown mustache? Why does Mr. P have a small bow tie? Asking the questions why and finding the answer to those questions, right? Not leaving them ambiguous and leaving them out there, but like in the outer rim, but just finding an answer to those questions and then moving, if the answer for why something exists is we just like it or we don't know, that's a clear indicator that something might not need to be there. And so when they ask them, I would imagine JKR goes to them and says, hey, why does Mr. P have hair? And they say, well, we don't know. He's always had hair. That's the way Arch drew him back in the day. And then we ask the question, well, if he doesn't need the hair, can it disappear? Can it go away? And in fact, one of the things that you have to keep in mind, especially as you grow in your skill set or just grow in your understanding at design as a whole, is that things not only need to work on big screen TVs and billboards, but they also need to work in incredibly small sizes, okay? So that big mustache, the hair, all of the stuff that was going on in Mr. P's sort of like uniform before, it's gonna be really hard to translate that when the Pringles logo needs to be on a pen or, you know, a coin or something like a button. And so having a simplified version of the Mr. P is gonna help them a lot, right? So you guys who are kind of struggling with that, that's one big reason alone, is just scalability. When we're designing, are we designing in a way that's scalable? That's such an important question to keep in mind and ask as we're creating logos. So anyways, guys, this was kind of a quick video. I just wanted to share this rebrand with you. What do you think? I mean, what do you think about the new branding? What do you think about Pringles at, you know, by and large? Are you a Pringles fan? I know they're not like real potato chips technically. They're not even made with like potatoes, if I remember correctly, but I can get down with some Pringles every once in a while. We definitely don't buy them at the house or keep them in stock by any means, but I could always get down with some salt and vinegar Pringles. And you know, it's classic, right? You put the one upwards, you put the other one downwards, and you pretend you're a duck, and all the things you know, the stupid things we did as kids. It's cool to see these brands evolving and taking steps towards the future and just like staying relevant. Remember, as always, you have a purpose and a perspective unlike anything this world has ever seen. I hope you never forget it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Thank you for sticking around, liking this video, commenting, subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot. Catch me on some of the other social platforms. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Pete__Rodriguez. You could also find me on Dribbble, Behance, and of course my website. And I just want you to know, your perspective matters. This is our community. It's you and I. We're in it together, all right? I'll see you guys next time.